Hello and welcome to my creative castle. If you are new to my channel, hi, my name's May. I love yarn. I love to knit and crochet. Those are my hobbies, and I also happen to have been born visually impaired, legally blind, and completely colorblind. So I mostly knit and crochet by feel. In today's video, we are going to do a knitting tutorial on how to knit my fancy and faux fur hat. Look at this. So I have two different versions of it. I'm going to go ahead and put the gray one on. This is a number 6 super bulky yarn from Nitpicks. And here's where it's at. It is called Fairytale fur. It's called Fairytale fur. Now I have an older version. They call it Fable fur. This is in the color Paloma. The one that I'm wearing, they have only a few colors left. At the time of this recording, you're going to notice that some of the colors are on clearance. I do believe that they are discontinuing some of these colors, probably including the color that we're going to do today. The gray one that I have on is either the Lapin or the Lutra. There's two different grays there. Those are not being clearanced out. So I tend to think that they're not discontinuing those colors, but they might be. I don't know. So the one that I have on is either Lapin or Lutra. They're both shades of gray. One's got a little more black tint to it. One's got more of like a charcoal gray. I am colorblind and I don't remember which color I use. So, and then I have another version of it in the Oso, which is a brown. I'm just going to tell you, I did design this myself. I actually took notes on it, and then I made the brown one right after I made the gray one. And the brown one is just a tiny bit smaller, even though I made them identical. But that's okay. Just know that the Oso, and when I was feeling the yarns, in my opinion, the strands of the Oso are just a little bit smaller, a little bit thinner. So I think that's all that's happening there. If you put the two right, like side by side, I think you can probably tell just a little bit that even though they're identical, they were made identical. The brown one's just a tiny bit smaller. So let's take a look at our specs one more time on this. Okay, so it's 100% polyester. They say hand wash cold, lay flat to dry. It is polyester. I'm going to tell you something. I have machine washed in warm this yarn and then hung up to dry, no dryer. It turned out fine. However, you're going to have to make the decision on your projects. When in doubt, of course, hand wash, right? Or, you know, make a swatch and throw it in the washing conditions that you want to use, and then you make your decision on how you want to wash your project. But do keep that in mind. But I'm just going to tell you, mine went through the washer on warm and was hung up to dry, and it was fine because it's polyester. So the skills that you're going to need, this is a really simple hat. We are going to use US size 11 circular needles or 8mm needles. This hat is going to be knit from the bottom up in the round. So it's a very, in my opinion, it's a simple hat. It's a good beginner hat. And what you're going to need to know how to do is how to cast on in some way. You're going to need to know how to join in the round. You're going to need to know how to knit. You're going to need to know how to purl, because we're going to do some garter stitch in the round. I have an entire tutorial on my channel going more in depth about knitting garter stitch flat versus in the round. So when you knit it in the round, you knit one round, you purl one round. And then you're just going to need to knit stockinette. And then when we get to shaping our crown, you're going to have to know how to do a knit two together to do our decreases. So those are the skills that you're going to need to know how to make what I call my fancy and faux fur hat, right? This is fun. This is simple. I know that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so we are going to go ahead and make one in the color Paloma. This really pretty pale pink is the color of Mrs. Bear right here. The pattern for the bear is Little Mishka, which is free on the nitpicks site, and now I'm giving you a free pattern with this yarn. I happen to love novelty yarns, and I'm always sad when yarn companies choose to discontinue them. I think people buy it and they don't always know what to do with it. So I want to help you out today and find a fun pattern and help you know what to do with yours. So these, let me check the yardage on these because I can't remember. 71 yards. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember if I was able to make these hats with just one skein of yarn, but I believe so. I'm almost positive, but we're going to find out today just how much yarn it takes. If we don't have enough of the Paloma, we'll have to go digging in my stash for some more, because you just know I have some more. So alrighty, I have the horizontal tripod set up over there as well. So let me put the camera on pause and we will go down there and start our fancy and faux fur hat. Okay, here's a better look at the gray hat and either the lapin or the lutra. I don't actually know. Here's the oso right on top of it. In my opinion, it's just a tiny bit smaller, but they both fit me just fine. I believe this hat is probably, the gray is probably somewhere around 22 to 23 inches around, and it fits me with room to spare. So in my opinion, this is going to fit your average adult head just fine. Okay, and once again, let me zoom this in. This is a close-up of the yarn. However, the new label will say Fairytale fur. This is the old label. This is the color Paloma. That's what we're going to work with today. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do to knit is we have to cast on. And you can cast on however you want. I prefer the long tail cast on, so that's what I'm going to do today. I have a whole video on my channel talking about how I cast on, my techniques, why I choose to do it this way. But of course, you can use any cast on method that you want, that you can use to work in the round. Okay, so one thing that I do is I take my one needle, my circular, I'm going to just knit this on 2 circulars. If you like to do things on magic loop or double points, by all means, you do you. We're all about that on this channel. But for me, when I cast on, because I tend to cast on tight, I tend to knit tight, and then it's hard to get into that first round of stitches, is I take my long circular needle and I fold it in half, right, so that I got a loop on one end, and I hold my 2 ends of the needle parallel so that both tips are pointing towards the left. Okay, and so for my long tail cast on, I have one end of the yarn going off the back of my hand to the ball yarn, and then I have the tail. So for this particular project, we're going to work it over 42 stitches worked in the round. And so something that I talk about is this is just how I cast on and join in the round, because I'm really bad at joining in the round and not twisting my project. And the one way that I have found to do it, in the video where I talk about tips for joining and working in the round, is to just go ahead and add on an extra stitch. I say you knit that first stitch and forget it. So the project's going to be worked over 42 stitches. That's what we want to cast on. But for me, for working in the round, I'm going to cast on 43. Okay, and then we knit that first extra stitch together with the last stitch, and that's how we join in the round without twisting. So for my long tail cast on, I'm going to go ahead and stick my thumb and my index finger of my left hand in between the tail of the yarn and the end that's attached to the ball. I'm going to stick my 2 parallel needles in between underneath that, and then I'm going to go in, make a loop. I'm going to make a loop when my thumb and my index finger are in. that in between the two strands of yarn. Then I just turn my thumb up like a kind of like a hitchhiker thing or something, and then we're going to just stick our 2 needles into that first loop. We're going to go into the loop around our index finger, back to the loop on our thumb, and now we have 2 loops on our 2 needles. And then of course, if you're doing a long tail cast on, you just repeat that motion. Stick your 2 needle tips into the loop on your thumb, go to the loop on your index finger, around the 2 needles, back to the loop on your thumb. That is 3. I'm just going to do that with you a couple more times, okay? And then I'm going to leave you to it. Thumb and index finger in between the yarn, thumb points upright. And now we stick the tips of our needles into the loop that's around our thumb, go to the index finger, grab that loop, back to our thumb. That's 4. One more time. Into the loop around our thumb, go to the loop around our index finger, grab that strand, back to the loop around our thumb. That is 5. Okay, I'm going to continue with my long tail cast on until I have 43 stitches. And again, we're going to work over 42, but if you cast on like I do, then you're going to want 1 extra stitch. I want to put the camera on pause and be back when I have 43. Okay, so I now have 43 stitches cast on to one of my size 11 or 8 millimeter needles. And so now we need to knit our first row, our first round. And so that's when I get out my second circular needle. And with 42 stitches for our project, that means with 2 circulars, we want to have 21 stitches on each needle. But remember, I said I cast on 43, and that's because I always say with my first stitch, I knit it and forget it, because I knit it and then I don't even count it in my stitch count, because I use it to connect to join in the round by knitting it together with the very last stitch, and that way I don't twist it. So that means on needle 1, because I want 21 stitches and I have the extra stitch, I'm actually going to have 22 stitches on what I call needle 1. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is we're going to take the tip. As I start using my second circular needle here, I stick my tip into that stitch front to back, wrap the yarn, pull that new stitch over. That is stitch number 1. We're going to work 2, 3, and I'm just going to continue in this manner until I have 22 stitches on the first needle, and then I will go ahead and use my needle that the rest of my stitches are on and use that for the second half of my cast on. So I'm going to go ahead and work these, pause the camera, and get back with you. Okay, so I have 22 stitches knit on the 1 circular needle. Going to go ahead and shove those onto the middle of that needle, and then where the needle that I cast onto, we just want to make sure that we don't twist, right, as we sort of set those aside. Now we want to grab the second half, this other tip of our second needle, and we want to go ahead and knit 20 of these stitches. Okay, I hope I'm staying on camera. So I missed that stitch. It's a little bit difficult sometimes to work this first stitch. Really hope I'm staying on camera. So we've got 1. I'm going to work just a couple with you. 2. And 3. Into the stitch front to back. That is 4. And I'm going to knit all the way to 20 until I have 1 stitch left on that left hand needle tip, okay? And then I'll get back with you. Okay, I have knit 20 stitches onto this needle. We should have just one more stitch because we want to have 21 stitches on each of the needles for 42 total. So I've got this one unworked stitch. So just for now, I'm going to go ahead and slip it, not knit it, but just slip it onto that needle tip where I've worked all of my other stitches. And then this is just how I join in the round so that I don't twist my work. I go ahead and you do want to check. I mean, twisting your work can still happen, so you really want to check and make sure here at the where the needles join, right, where you've got your two needles, you do want to make sure and double check that your stitches are not twisted there. So now what we want to do is we have this one unworked stitch here on the end, and of course we have an extra stitch, right? What did we talk about? How we worked 43 stitches even though we only needed 42. And the reason for that is because to join in the round without twisting, we just work this extra stitch, the one that we knit and forget. We do a knit two together with this last stitch that is unworked here, right? You can see on the back that this stitch is unworked. So now we're going to take it and we're going to slip it on to this first needle, our very first needle tip, so that we can do a knit two together. Okay, so we're going to slip that unworked stitch, the last one, onto the needle tip with that very first extra stitch. Then we're going to stick our needle tip into both stitches, and it's just going to be a knit two together. Okay, that is it. We're going to knit those two together. So that now means that we should have 21 stitches on our front needle and 21 stitches on our back needle. Okay, needle 1 and needle 2. Of course, if you're working on double points, you might have 4 needles going on. So this is what we should have to begin with. So we just knit our first round. That was round 1, and that was knit. Now for this hat, we did a garter stitch brim. So once again, to work garter stitch in the round, we have to purl round 2, okay? So that means that we need to have our working yarn in the front of our project, and then we take our needle tip at the end and we go ahead and we stick our needle tip into that first stitch. We stick it in to the front of that stitch and we purl that stitch. Okay, so once again, stick your right needle tip into the front of that stitch, right to left. And I gotta make sure I'm not working with my tail here. That's been known to happen to me before. And we purl the second stitch, and that's all that we're going to do. So round 1 was knit every stitch and join in the round. Round 2 is going to be purl every single stitch. Okay, that's it. Round 2, purl every single stitch to create garter stitch in the round. Alrighty, well, I'm going to pause the camera, work my 42 stitches, and see you at the end of the round. Okay, well, I just finished knitting, or purling technically, round number 2 of my fancy and faux fur hat. So for our garter stitch brim on this hat, we're going to do 4 rounds in garter stitch. So what that means is that for round number 3, we want to knit every single stitch. So here we go. Round number 3 on our brim. Yarn starts in the back again, and we go ahead, stick our needle tip into that stitch front to back and knit those stitches and knit every single stitch. Okay, so round number 3 on our hat and on our garter stitch brim is knit every single stitch. Alrighty, well, I'm going to continue with that until I get to the end of round number 3, and then I'll get back with you at the end of the round. Okay. Okay, well, I just finished round number 3 of the brim, which was the garter stitch brim, which was knit every stitch. Now I'm going to start round number 4 of our brim, which will be our last round for the garter stitch. And that means we purl it, right? To create our garter stitch in the round, we want to purl every single stitch. That means yarn to the front of our work, stick our needle tip in from right to left across the front of the work, wrap that needle tip in the front of our project, and purl every single stitch. Okay, so round number 4 of our hat and of our garter stitch brim, we purl every single stitch. Okay, I will get back with you, trying to make sure I stay on camera here. I'll get back with you at the end of round number 4. Okay, well, I've reached the end of round number 4, and that's the end of the garter stitch brim on our hat. This is the brown version here. So, and I believe, just looking and feeling this Paloma, I think it's probably going to be more likely to the size of the brown hat, which is the color Oso, than the gray. I think that gray is particularly thick, and I think the Paloma and the Oso are closer in size. So I'm guessing that's the size we're going to get. So now that we have our garter stitch brim done, I know for some sighted people it may be hard to tell the difference in garter stitch versus stockinette stitch with these furry fuzzy yarns, but I can feel it. There's a difference in it. So now for if you want to call it round number 5, you can, or you can start, of course, your round count over now that we start working in stockinette. So if you are unsure, if you're brand new to working in the round and you aren't yet sure to work stockinette stitch in the round, you just knit every single stitch in every round. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to work this particular round with you, round 1 or round 5, round 1 of the stockinette, round 5 of the hat, and we will knit every single stitch. Okay, and then I'll come back and I will work one more round with you so that there's no confusion at all on what we do with the rest of our hat. But basically now we're done purling. Yay for that, right? For those of us that aren't big fans of purling, we're just going to knit the stockinette portion, and then when we get to the shaping of the crown, we're going to evenly space out some knit 2 together into the shaping of the brim of our hat. Okay, I will see you at the end of the round. Okay, so we just finished round number 5 of our hat, or round number 1 on the stockinette portion if you like to restart your row count after the brim. So round number 6 or round number 2 if you're restarting your round count is, because we're working stockinette in the round, we're going to knit every single stitch. Yarn stays in the back. Put our needle tip, right needle tip into that stitch, front to back, and knit that stitch. So round number 6, stockinette in the round. We're just going to knit every single stitch, okay? So a couple things I'll work this round with you. Couple things I want to talk about. What I've noticed is that nitpicks is phasing out a lot of the colors, including, right, like that we talked about, the color that we're working with is called Paloma. It's on clearance, which means it is 40% off right now. But they aren't clearancing out all the colors, right? The Corvo, the black, the gray, the Oso, those colors are still staying. So I'm not totally sure if they're discontinuing the yarn or not. I have no idea. They don't consult me on those things, right? So I don't know if you're still going to be able to get this yarn or how long you're going to be able to get this yarn. But I haven't made this hat in other yarns yet. I definitely am going to try to get a couple of other yarns in the house as substitutions to play with and see how those yarns compare. I have looked up this yarn, the Fairytale fur, on Yarn Substitution, and their recommendation for a substitute is the Serdar Alpine, I believe is what it is, and I believe that they call that a 94% match in terms of, you know, the composition of the yarn, 100% polyester, and the gauge being within the same range. So that would be my guess as a close match. If you're watching this far into the future and this yarn is completely discontinued, okay? So I just finished half of this round, and we'll pause for a second and we'll discuss something else that I thought we would talk about here. Is that my hats in the gray and the brown, the oh-so here, I did the 4 rounds in garter stitch, and then I did 20 rounds in stockinette before I started my shaping for my crown decrease, okay? Now this hat is almost too long for me, meaning the fur on it tickles my brows, right? It's a little bit long for my taste. So I thought what I'd do with that pink one is just maybe do 18 rounds of stockinette stitch and then start the shaping, because this hat is all fancy with the faux fur. We're not doing any kind of patterning with it, right? There's no cables, there's no lace, so there's nothing to worry about in terms of the actual size of the hat, right? Which means you can really customize at least the height of the hat in terms of the height. So you can make it a little bit shorter or a little bit taller, depending on who you want it to fit. So with this, with the 20 rounds of stockinette, it's almost too big for me. So I'll do the pink one in 18. So you'll be able to see with 18 rounds of stockinette, so that you will be able to see the difference in the size. You'll be able to see just how easy this particular pattern is to modify in terms of height. So if you saw the one in the 20, or you worked one with the 20 rounds of stockinette and you felt it was just a little bit too small for the person that you're making for yourself or whomever you want to gift it to, then by all means, right, make 22 rounds in stockinette. So that's the fun part about this particular hat, is that in terms of height, for any adult size head, you can always give it a couple more rounds. You can really customize the fit for whomever you're making the hat for, okay? So that's really nice. I have not played around with this hat in terms of changing up the width for, say, a child size, so I can't give you any guidelines on that in terms of how we can talk about that at the end. But I'll just be honest with you, I haven't done it. I don't think it would be hard to make this in a child size hat. Just because there's no fancy shaping to it, right? We're not doing anything fancy, except the crown decrease is as fancy as we get when it comes to shaping on this particular pattern, okay? So that is what's nice about this hat, is that it's simple, in my opinion, as long as you know how to knit in the round, purl in the round, and do your basic knit two together for your crown shaping. It's a good beginner hat, and yet it still allows you to do something fancy. It helps you to know, what can I do with all this novelty yarn that I bought on sale, right? Because, you know, I love to buy this Fairytale yarn when it's on sale, right? This was one of the yarns that was on the $2 yarn sale. I even did a specific video for this yarn. I buy a lot of this. When it goes on sale for $2 on the sales, I buy a lot of it, okay? So I love working with it, but I know some people don't know what to do with it. So I'm just going to work to the end of this round, and then I'm going to go ahead, because I decided to just do 18 rounds of stockinette on this one. That means I have 16 more rounds of stockinette stitch to go, and then I'll get back with you. I'm going to stop the camera now, and then I'll get back with you, and we'll just put the two pieces together in the editing app later on, and we'll have a tutorial, and we'll do the decreasing, and we'll shape our crown together. Alrighty, my friends. Well, I'm back. I know it's been a short time in your world, but I've been working on my hat. So here's where I am at. Let's hold it up against the brown one just so you can compare it a little bit. This is where it's at size-wise. As I said, on the brown one, we did the 4 rows of garter stitch, and then we did 20 rows of stockinette stitch before we shaped our crown. So now I believe that I have done 18 rows of stockinette stitch. I did go ahead and film a Mondays with May, so you'll see it after the tutorial comes out, where you get to see me working and chatting with you on the stockinette stitch. And as I was talking there, I have been awake since 4 in the morning, slept about 4 hours chatting, and did lose track a little bit of my rounds. So it might be 18 rounds of stockinette, it might be 17, it might be 19, but that'll just tell you how flexible this pattern is. You can do it with 17 rounds of stockinette, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, whatever, okay? So let me go ahead and zoom this in for you a little bit. Okay, so now we should still have 21 stitches on each round. We believe 18 rounds of stockinette. So we're going to go ahead and start knitting here. Okay, this is our first decrease round to shape our crown. We're going to knit 1, knit 2, knit 3, knit 4, and knit 5. Okay, and here comes the shaping. We knit 5, and now to start the decreases, we want to do a knit 2 together, and that's our first. Pardon my neighbors, they like to shoot a lot, so we have that going on in the background. That's the knit 2 together. And there's not a lot that I can do about them, but we're going to keep making our hat, right? 1, knit 2, knit 3, knit 4, and knit 5. And here comes another decrease. So now we want to do a knit 2 together. That's our second decrease. And we're going to do the same thing. I'll do it with you one more time. We will work across this needle. And we will knit 1. And knit 2. And knit 3. Knit 4, and knit 5, and then we'll do another decrease, that a knit 2 together. That should take this needle down to 18 stitches. I'm going to go ahead and do that on the second needle. I'm going to pause the camera while I do that. You don't need to watch me do that again. I think you got it, and you don't need to listen to my neighbors. Alrighty. Okay, I just finished my first decrease round, which was knit 5, knit 2 together. We decreased this round by 6 stitches all the way around. That should leave you with a total of 36 stitches. Okay, so round 2 of the crown shaping is just going to be knit, okay? Round 2 in your crown shaping is just knit every single stitch all the way around. So we're going to knit 36 stitches. And the reason that we don't we don't do decreases on every single round. I'm getting some text messages from my mother right now. We don't do decreases on every single round because we don't want the head to be super pointy, right? If we did decreases on every single round, then it would be kind of pointy on top. So we want to avoid that. So we're just going to knit every single stitch. I'm going to pause the camera. You knit every single stitch, all 36 on yours. Okay, I just finished round number 2 of my crown shaping, which was just knit every stitch, maintaining our 36 stitches. We should still have 36 stitches. Alrighty, we are going to work round number 3 of our crown shaping. So this is going to be another decrease round, and on this round we want to, hope I'm on the camera, we want to knit 1, knit 2, knit 3, knit 4, and now starts our shaping and our decreasing, where we knit 2 together. Okay, so that's our decrease pattern for this third round of the crown. We knit 1, we knit 2, we knit 3, we knit 4, and then we knit 2 together. One more time. We knit 1, we knit 2, we knit 3, we knit 4, and we knit 2 together. So that on my front needle, I should now have 15 stitches. I'm going to pause the camera, do the same thing on the second needle. Okay, I just finished round number 3 of my crown shaping. That was a decreased row. Again, the pattern repeat was knit 4, knit 2 together, which means I should now have 30 stitches total on my hat. So again, decrease. This is going to be crown decrease round shaping round number 4, and on those, every other row on the even rows of this crown, it's just knit every single stitch. So round number 4 on our crown decrease shaping, we're just going to knit all the way across. Okay, we're going to knit 30 stitches, and I'll be back and see you again at the end of this round. Okay, I just completed my 4th round. I should still have 30 stitches all the way around. And now we're going to do our 5th round of our crown shaping. It's another decrease round. So the pattern repeat for this round is knit 1, knit 2, and knit 3, and then here's our decrease, and we are going to do a knit 2 together. Well, maybe we are. These can be a little, I love working with this fur, but it can be a little tricky to do a knit 2 together with, and a knit 2 together. Okay, that's our decrease repeat. Knit 1, knit 2, knit 3, And here we go. Let me find those 2 stitches. And we are doing a knit 2 together. That's our decrease. One more time. Knit 1, knit 2, knit 3, and we'll do one more knit 2 together. And so this is the first half of my hat. I should have 12 stitches. Now if you're working on 2 needles, I know some of you aren't, but if you are, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera, do this, and at the end of this round we will have decreased another 6 stitches. You should have 24 stitches total at the end of this round. Okay, I just completed my 5th round of the crown shaping. At the end of that round, we should have 24 stitches total. We are decreasing every other round by 6 stitches. So round number 6 of our crown shaping. Again, even row, we're just going to knit every single stitch all the way across. So at the end of this round, you should maintain your stitch count and you should still have 24 stitches. See, at the end of this round, or, oops, sorry, I think I wasn't on camera, or at the beginning of the next. Okay, at the end of round number 6 of our crown shaping, we should still have 24 stitches. So for round 7 of our crown shaping, I'm sure you're probably picking up on the pattern here, right? It's another decrease round. So we are going to knit 1, knit 2, and then here comes the decrease. We are going to knit 2 together. That's the repeat for this round. Knit 1, knit 2, and knit 2 together. Knit 1, knit 2, and knit 2 together. I will pause the camera. Once again, we are decreasing by 6. So at the end of this round, you should have 18 stitches. Okay, at the end of round 7 of our crown shaping, that was another decrease round, you should have a total of 18 stitches. This is what your hat should start to look like. So round number 8 on the crown decreasing, that's another even round. That means that we just knit every single stitch all the way across. We maintain our stitch count right now. So at the end of this round, we're going to knit 18 stitches all the way across, and we should have 18 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, pause the camera and I will get back with you. Alrighty, at the end of round number 8 of our crown shaping, we should still have 18 stitches. This is what your hat should look like, just like this. Okay, here we go. Round number 9. This is going to be the last round of our hat. Yay! This is a fast, fun, and easy pattern. Because it's super bulky, you can get it done in one day. It's a great gift too. Yes, I'm talking about it for breast cancer awareness, but it's just a great gift. Fast, fun, and easy. Okay, here we go. Pattern repeat. knit 1. It's a decrease round. Knit 1, and then we just knit 2 together. Oops, missed that stitch again. And knit 2 together. That's the repeat. Knit 1 stitch, and then we work another decrease. Make sure I got 2 stitches there. You feel them, get them separated. These are getting tight and difficult to work, but we got it. Knit 2 together. Knit 1. And knit 2 together. And here we go. We'll just knit this second half of this with y'all. Let me get these last few stitches up to the end of my needle. And this is the last round of our hat. So we want to do the same thing. We want to knit 1. And then we want to, well, oh my goodness, I might have to pause the camera. You guys don't want to watch me fumble with these stitches. Knit 2 together. We should have 12 stitches at the end of this round. Knit 1. And sometimes when your stitches get tight, you have to kind of loosen them first a little bit on the needle by sticking the tip of your needle in there so that you can actually work into that knit 2 together. Knit 2 together. Here we go. This is our last one. We want to knit 1 and make sure I get both of those stitches. We don't want to drop one accidentally, so close to being done. And we knit 2 together. Alrighty, so there we go, my friends. This is what your hat should look like right now. We are done with our hat, almost. This is what it should look like. You should have 12 stitches on your needles right now. So let me find my scissors now. And we are going to, yay, we're going to cut our yarn. That's exciting, right? Well, I might have to pause it. Well, okay, so now what we have to make sure is that we leave, what we're going to do is cut it and then thread it onto a needle and then weave it through. If you've never done a hat before, that's usually how it's done. Then you just, rather than bind off, you cut a long enough tail that you can weave it through all of those stitches, right? So leave yourself enough tail to do that. So we're going to cut our yarn there. And then, and look at, this is how much we have left, okay? This is what we have left of our 71 yards. So you can definitely, even if, like I said, I did lose track of my rounds. There might be 17 rounds of stockinette. There might be 18. There might be 19. But even on the hats where I did 20, clearly I was able to complete them with one hank of the 71 yards, right? So I know 71, right? We see super bulky yarns and we're like, 71 yards, that's not that many yards. And it's not. But you should still be able to get a hat done, just a basic hat done out of one skein of super bulky. Okay, so we have our yarn tail threaded on to our big needle. I do always use this. This is my favorite needle, this big blunt eye needle, because I can really feel the eye of that really well. So now I have 6 stitches on each of my needles, And what we want to do now is take the tip of our needle and thread each of these stitches right onto our needle. So that's 2 stitches, that is 3 stitches. So from the needle tip, the knitting needle, onto our sewing needle. So we're going to do this with these first 6 stitches. We have 6 off the needle, and then we're just going to pull this nice and tight. I think we are. Yes, we are. Okay, we're halfway done. OMG, don't mess it up now, right? We're so close. So 6 more stitches on our second needle. Here we go. We're going to transfer them from the knitting needle onto the sewing needle. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. Okay, our hat is officially off the needles. Yay! So now we want to thread these onto this. Oh, we left plenty of yarn. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, so that's nice. So now what we need to do is take our yarn from the top half, right? And we want to poke it down into the inside of our project, and that's where we're going to weave it in on the inside, tie it up in a nice knot. I left plenty long tails. I didn't even need to leave a tail that long, but you know what, it's better to have, you know, a little extra than not enough, right? I've learned that lesson the hard way. Okay, so now we just want to take our sewing needle and just kind of weave this leftover tail in and out of, this doesn't have to be perfect because it's a fuzzy yarn. Okay, it's a fuzzy yarn. Your stitches aren't distinct, right? This is not a yarn where there's stitch definition. This is just a really fun, really fluffy, really soft yarn. This is such a nice yarn. I love this yarn. Made a scarf to match this, made fingerless gloves to match this, faux fur swing coat. I could do anything with this yarn. I really hope that they don't discontinue the whole line, because I'm seeing them phase out the colors, and I am getting worried, because I could do anything and everything with faux fur. Love the texture of it. Love how soft it is. Okay. So I think that's good enough. I am going to put a small knot in mine. I just like to do that. If you don't like to knot your projects, that's totally up to you. But let me just tell you, I've had more than one project come undone. Okay, and that's awkward when it's my own. Can't imagine when I gift this to somebody if it came undone on them. That would be sad, be awkward, it'd be embarrassing. So we're just going to tie a little knot in the head of that. Maybe weave this in just a little bit more. And then we will go ahead and cut our yarn. I just don't want it to come undone. That for me is like that's a serious fear, because I've seen it. I've had it. You've seen me on videos. I have some videos where we're looking at some of my projects, and then I realized that my own project came unraveled. Yeah, so we don't like that. Alrighty, that's good enough. We don't need like big knots in the top of the head on this. So we are now going to cut our yarn, and then we're going to take our yarn needle. We have to go back to the tail where we cast on, right? We got to take our cast on tail. I left plenty of tail there too. My goodness. My goodness. I wasted probably a little bit of this yarn, but that's okay. You know what you can do with your excess yarn like this? You can use it for stuffing. Yeah, really, in case we ever make another bear, Mr. and Mrs. Bear. You can actually take this excess yarn and stuff your bears with it. So don't just toss it out. Oh my goodness, I'm having a really hard time getting this last bit of tail threaded through there. Oh my goodness. I think it's because I got a little excess fluff. That's what's going on. I got some fluff in my eye of my needle there from the last one. I was like, why isn't it going through there? Okay, so alrighty. So now we're going to do the same thing with our little tail. We're going to work on the inside of our project, right? And then we're just going to thread our yarn. Again, this doesn't have, that's the beauty of this yarn. If you're new to knitting or crocheting, even though you might be intimidated to work with fuzzy yarn because you're like, oh, but I can't see my stitches. But see, that's the beauty of it too. If you make a mistake, you can't see your stitches, and nobody else can either, because there just isn't good stitch definition. So if you make a mistake with this yarn, it's okay. It's not going to show up. So, alrighty, we're going to tie this off too. Again, we don't want it to come unraveled. That's a big sad face when your project comes unraveled. So, I'm going to tie this off, weave this in, do one more little knot in here, and then we are going to cut our yarn. We're going to compare it to our brown one, right? That's what we want to do. We want to know what's the size difference when we maybe got one or two extra or less rows on our pink one versus our brown one. So this is our hat, y'all. This is the hat that we just made. Isn't that fun? Isn't that pretty? Look at that. Look at that. That's no nice. That's nice. That's soft. That's pettable. Let me put my needle away so that I don't lose it, because that's a real possibility with me. If I set it down, the possibility of me losing it is real. So let me put that away, and then we will compare it to our brown one, because we think we did a few less rows. But again, I do think the brown one might be just a little small. Let me just zoom it out so you can get a better perspective. Okay, so this is the pink hat that we just finished. This is what we made together. We're going to put down our brown one, which we think has 20 rounds of stock in it. Here's our pink one on top of that. Yeah, I think they're the same in terms of width. And honestly, yeah, I think it's just a tiny bit smaller, which is just fine. In my opinion, that's still going to fit me fine. I think we can put it, the gray one is bigger than the brown one. That's just the nature of the gray yarn. It's pretty fluffy. So, and yeah, you can definitely tell that this pink one is smaller. So there we go, my friends. I'm going to put this hat on. That's right. That's right. I'm going to put my pink hat on. Okay. You want to see it on me? Alrighty. Just a second. Let me pause the camera. Alrighty, my friends. Well, here it is. This is it on me. This is my fancy in faux fur hat. We got the gray. We got the also in the brown, and now we have the pink in the Paloma. Yes, it's the leftover from Mrs. Bear. This is the same yarn. This is the Fairytale fur. You can get the bear pattern for free at Nitpicks, and now you have a free tutorial. So don't wonder anymore on what to do with your Fairytale fun fur yarn. And let's take a look if I can find it. Okay, so this is what we have left. I would say, oh my goodness, we probably use 2/3, maybe 2/3 to 3/4 maybe of our skein. There's still plenty left. So I think we did 18, I think we did 4 rounds of garter stitch, 18 rounds of stockinette, 9 rounds of decreasing to shape our crown. So you could easily, like for my gray and my brown, I do 20 rounds of stockinette. You could easily do 20. You could do 22. I think you could even do 24 rounds. If you got a really big head, I think you could do more, right? I think you could do more than that. I think you could do 24 rounds of stockinette stitch and still have enough yarn from just the one skein of 71 yards. So yes, it doesn't sound like much. 71 yards is not a lot, but it goes pretty far in terms of hat making. Okay, my friends. Well, these, again, we use these 8 milli size 11 needles. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you make it. Say hello in the comment section. Let me know if you make it. Let me know what color. If you're using substitute yarn, let me know. Let me know if you made one in pink for yourself because you like pink, or if you made one in pink to donate for somebody for breast cancer awareness, for anybody else who might be going through cancer treatment, whatever. Donate it to homeless, whatever. However, let me know if you made one for yourself, because I'm probably going to make one in black, and who knows what other colors for myself, and who knows how many more we'll make to give away, because we just did this in an afternoon. Fast, fun, and easy. It's going to make a great gift. You could give it for Christmas gifts, right? Christmas right around the corner. Just saying, this would be a fun gift. Alrighty, my friends. Well, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, happy stitching. Bye-bye for now.